Some of the greatest stories in human history have no written record. They're epic tales of survival and discovery. Today, we're going to unpack one of the biggest, the mystery of how the Americas were first populated, all by using a map that's hidden inside every single one of us. So, how did people first get to the Americas? This question has been a massive puzzle for scientists for ages. We're talking about a time way back, at the end of the last ice age, over 15,000 years ago. The world was a completely different place back then. For the longest time, archaeologists had to piece this story together from, scattered fragments. Things like ancient bones and these incredible, masterfully crafted stone tools. And these were amazing clues, for sure, but they never gave us the full picture. It turns out the real, unfiltered story isn't written in stone at all. It's written in our DNA. Okay, let's dive into this because our DNA is so much more than just a biological blueprint. It's basically a living history book. And scientists, geneticists, can now read that book to trace the unbelievable journeys our ancestors took thousands and thousands of years ago. The secret to reading this history all comes down to a concept called genetic diversity. Think of it as all the different genetic flavors in a population. Now here's the crucial part. When a small group breaks away and moves somewhere new, they only carry a small sample of that original variety with them. This creates a really distinct genetic fingerprint that scientists can follow like a trail. And this whole process has a name. It's called the serial founder effect. It's the key principle that makes all of this genetic detective work possible. So picture it. You have a large, ancient population with tons of genetic variety. A small group of founders heads out, taking just a tiny piece of that variety. They start a new population, which now has lower diversity. Then another small group splits off from them, and the diversity drops again. It's literally like leaving a trail of breadcrumbs, but the breadcrumbs are these drops in genetic diversity. So, with this theory in hand, scientists knew exactly what they were looking for. They started analyzing the DNA of indigenous populations all across the Americas, searching for that telltale genetic trail, hoping it would lead them back to a single source. And boy, did they find it. When you look at it on a global scale, the pattern is just crystal clear. Populations in sub-Saharan Africa, where humanity began, have the most genetic diversity on the planet. As humans spread into Eurasia, that diversity dropped. And then, just like the model predicted, Native American populations have the lowest genetic diversity of any major continental group. This was the first huge clue that the Americas were settled by one of these founder groups. Now, this incredible journey didn't just happen in a vacuum, right? The timing is key. It all kicked off as the planet was warming up, around 19,000 years ago. The massive glaciers started melting, opening up new lands. And sure enough, by about 15,000 years ago, we see the first solid archaeological proof of people in North America. A few thousand years after that, the famous Clovis culture pops up everywhere. So where did this trail actually begin? Well, the genetics are absolutely unambiguous. The trail leads directly back to Siberia. See, during the Ice Age, sea levels were way lower, and a massive land bridge called Beringia connected what is now Siberia and Alaska. This was the gateway to the New World. A huge landmark study back in 2007 really just spelled it all out. The researchers found two incredibly clear patterns, or gradients. First, as they looked at populations farther and farther away from the Bering Strait, the genetic diversity just kept dropping step by step. And second, the farther away a group was, the less genetically similar they were to modern Siberians. It's just this astonishingly clear signal of a one-way migration south. And this, right here, this is the smoking gun. It creates this clear, almost straight line on a graph. The farther south you go in the Americas, from North to Central down to South America, the lower the genetic diversity gets. It's the genetic echo of that step-by-step serial founder migration, a clear footprint of a journey south from a single starting point. Okay, so we know the origin was Siberia, and the direction was south. But, that just opens up a whole new set of questions, doesn't it? Like, what specific path did they take to get all the way down? And how do these ancient genes connect to the incredible diversity of cultures we see today? Well, for the route south, there have always been two big theories. One is an inland route through a harsh, ice-free corridor. The other is a coastal route, just following the shoreline down the Pacific. And the genetic data actually gives us a pretty strong hint. The patterns suggest a really rapid expansion down the continent, something that would have been way, way easier along the resource-rich coast.
And this brings us right back to the archaeology. The Clovis culture, famous for those incredible spear points they used to hunt mammoths, was long thought to be the very first group of Americans. But the genetic story, especially the evidence for a fast coastal migration, really backs up newer archaeological finds that suggest people were here before Clovis. It's totally rewriting the first chapter of human history in the Americas.
The study also looked at another really fascinating puzzle. Do our genes and our languages tell the same story? And the answer is, well, it's complicated. Across the whole of the Americas, there's almost no link at all. Languages just change and split off way faster than genes do. But if you zoom way in to smaller local regions, you start to see a partial agreement pop up. It suggests that on that smaller scale, sometimes cultural and genetic history can line up. So let's just pull all this together. What does it all mean? This isn't just some ancient, dusty story. It is a profound demonstration of how science can unlock parts of our collective past that we once thought were lost to time forever.
So what are the big takeaways here? Simple. The Americas were populated from Siberia across the Bering Land Bridge. This migration created a perfect genetic gradient from north to south, the absolute signature of the serial founder effect. That genetic trail is an undeniable record of the journey, and it strongly suggests that coastal routes were the superhighways for these first peoples. And maybe most importantly, it proves that DNA is one of the most powerful tools we have for revealing our own history.
And just to really appreciate the power of this science, think about this number, 678. That is the number of specific genetic markers that the scientists in that 2007 study analyzed to piece this incredible story together. It's just a staggering amount of detail, and it's that level of scientific rigor that lets us look tens of thousands of years into the past with this much confidence. And that really brings us to a final, pretty exciting thought. We have used genetics to solve the mystery of how an entire hemisphere was populated. So you have to wonder, what other great mysteries are just sitting there, waiting in our DNA to be unlocked? The History Written in Our Genes is a book with so many chapters still left to be read.